Today, we're diving into a bit of a corporate mystery. Where is a company's true value really hiding? It's often buried deep beneath all the surface level numbers. But don't worry, we're going to uncover a super powerful mapping tool that helps you find it. So let's kick things off with a question that, honestly, probably keeps a lot of leaders up at night. You have that gut feeling, right? You just know your company could be doing better, that there's this untapped potential just sitting there, but you can't for the life of you pinpoint exactly why or where the real problem is. Well, here's the heart of the problem. Those high-level numbers, they can be seriously misleading. A company might look okay from 30,000 feet. Maybe it missed its target by a couple hundred million. But look what happens when you actually dig in. You see that really strong performance in some areas is completely masking these huge losses somewhere else. The real opportunity for improvement isn't just a few hundred million, it's literally in the billions. And yet, that really sets the stage for our investigation. We're not just looking for loose change here. We are on the hunt for these massive, hidden opportunities that can completely change a company's future. The reason it's so hard to find these opportunities is that the clues are scattered all over the place. A traditional profit and loss statement, it tells you the final score, but it doesn't show you how the game was played. It just doesn't connect those big top-line financial goals to the hundreds of little day-to-day things that actually drive the results. So, to crack this case, we first have to understand the basic building blocks of how any business creates value. We need to get the fundamentals down. At its core, it really all boils down to what's called a company's intrinsic value. And it's a pretty simple but powerful idea. A company's worth is all about how much cash it can generate down the road. And that ability, well, it's driven by two main levers. How well it uses its money, that's what we call return on invested capital, or ROIC, and just how fast it can grow its sales. But here's the thing. Intrinsic value doesn't just pop up out of thin air. You got to think of it more like a chain reaction. It all starts with the long-term strategic health of the company. That foundation sets up your medium-term operational structure, which then drives your short-term day-to-day productivity. And all of that ultimately flows up into those two big financial drivers we just talked about, revenue growth and ROIC. All right, now for the main event, our number one investigative tool. This is how we are going to map out every single one of those clues, connecting the biggest of pictures to the tiniest of details. It's called the value driver tree. So the whole point here is a huge shift in thinking. The old way is like doing a financial autopsy, just looking at a static P&L statement after the fact. The new way is all about creating a dynamic map of your business that shows you cause and effect, connecting every single action to its ultimate financial outcome. And check out what this looks like in practice. The P&L tree on the left is simple. Sure, revenue, costs, you get it. But it's not really actionable. Now look to the right. The value tree forces you to think completely differently. Suddenly, you're not talking about abstract costs anymore. You're focused on super specific drivers, like how much it costs to get a new customer and what the lifetime value of that customer is. It lets you ask way, way smarter questions. Let's make this super real with a retailer example. This tree connects the big, hairy goal, ROIC, all the way down to the tiny decisions that are made every single day on the shop floor. All of a sudden, things like markdowns, labor schedules, and how much inventory you're holding, they're not just operations. They are direct levers you can pull to create value. For the very first time, you can draw a clear mathematical line from, say, scheduling one extra person for a shift directly to its impact on the entire company's return on capital. Now, what's really, really cool about this is its power to get an entire organization on the same page. It creates a shared language. The CEO, they're focused on ROIC. The store manager, they're worried about labor and inventory. But with this map, they can both see exactly how their work connects. It creates this clear line of sight from the top-level strategy all the way down to daily tasks. So we have our map. Fantastic. Now for the final step, actually using it to make smarter, more profitable decisions. Because, having the map is one thing, finding the treasure is the whole point. So now, with this incredible map of all your value drivers, you can see all the potential spots for investment and improvement. But this actually creates a new challenge. Your teams are full of amazing ideas, but your budget? It's not infinite. So, how do you pick the winners? This is it. This is the classic dilemma every single company faces. You've got dozens of projects, all of them promising a pretty good return. But at some point, bam, you hit that red line, the budget. You just can't fund everything, which forces you to make these really tough choices. And often, you're doing it with incomplete information. The value tree is what helps us solve this whole prioritization puzzle. It lets us figure out which of those levers on our map are the most sensitive. Which ones, if you could just improve them by 1%, would have the biggest ripple effect on the company's overall value. That's where you focus your limited resources. And here it is, the final payoff. The value tree lets you connect the dots on everything. You can now see the precise financial impact of improving any single operational driver. And you can map a specific initiative, like, say, workflow optimization, directly to the driver it's meant to improve, like the manufacturing error rate. There's no more guesswork. The case is officially cracked. So what should you really take away from all this? Well, it's a clear, repeatable process. First, you have to dig deep to find the real problem. Second, you map out the true drivers of value in your business. Third, you quantify the potential impact of improving each of those drivers. Fourth, you use that data to prioritize where you put your time and money. And finally, you use the map to connect your big picture strategy to what people are doing every single day. And this is exactly why it matters so much. This isn't just some theoretical exercise. It is a super practical way to benchmark your performance against the best in the business, see exactly where you stand, and then calculate the precise multi-billion-dollar prize for closing that gap. It turns these vague ambitions into a concrete action plan with a very clear financial reward at the end. And so we'll just leave you with one final thought. Now that you have the map and you have the method to follow the clues, what kind of treasures are just waiting to be found in your own organization?